So I introduced you as a divorce coach and co-parenting coach, and so the first question I want to ask you is if you could just give us your definition or explanation of a divorce coach, and then after that, I know you have some special background in co-parenting. In fact, you're studying co-parenting as your
Yeah.
doctoral. Did I get that correct?
Correct. Yes. So divorce coaching is someone who comes into your life while you're going through divorce and works with you through the divorce process. So, for example, say you get a therapist. Your therapist might work with you to say, "How did I get here? What went wrong? What can I do to make this not happen again?" Whereas I come into your life, and not that we don't touch on some of that, but what we're going to say is the divorce is typically a year-long process. Who do you want to be at the end of this divorce? And we kind of work backwards. What kind of relationship do you want with your ex? What kind of co-parent do you want to be? And then we try to make sure that the communication and the different process and the way that things ebb and flow through the divorce is really to meet that end goal, which is very easy to lose sight of when you're in the middle of a divorce because it's just so emotional.
Right.
Um, I got into this. I got divorced in 2005. At that point, I had two sons. I also had my oldest son when I was a single mom in high school. And then I got married when I was about 22 and divorced when I was 26. So at 26, I was a divorced single mom of two. My parents were married for 45 years. I didn't know anybody who was divorced. So I
Mm.
really didn't know anything other than the every other weekend. I had a couple of friends who were doing that. And so I really started off with that, ended up in a 50-50 co-parenting with both of my kids, loved it, and then ended up just sort of diving into it and trying to learn everything I could about co-parenting. And as you said, I'm writing my dissertation on it because I didn't know anyone who grew up like that. And so I'm trying to collect data on people who spent time like that and now they're adults and they can reflect back and say this is what was good or this is what was bad, and really compare it to the research that exists, which to net right now is only done on parents in co-parent, like in the 50-50, and children who are in the 50-50. So I'm really looking for those adults who are, finally able to live, maybe they have their own kids and they can say, oh, this really was the best thing or the worst thing. So I'm trying to figure all that out. I really wanted to learn how to do it better. I just felt like every other weekend didn't work for me. And I've met a lot of people since that didn't work for. For one thing, if you're the weekend parent, you get to be the fun parent. You get to go to the movies and the trampoline park, and the week parent, is homework and bath time and bedtime and soccer practice and all the stuff that's really hard. So I loved 50-50. It ended up being something that I think really made me a better parent. And so I'm a big fan of that, but it depends on how far away the parents live. And of course it doesn't work when there's any kind of, abuse or things like that. It's not
Sure.
an answer for everything, but it is something that worked well for me. And I encourage it when it can play out.
So you work with, if I understood you correctly, you'll work with parents going through divorce so you can help them work towards a co-parenting or establish co-parenting and that portion of it, but also the children who, and we kind of blew right through this, children who have aged out, which what that
Correct.
means to people listening is they are now adults,
Correct.
right? So
Yes.
you work with them as well as based on how their
That is the
relationship or how
research
they,
that I'm doing. That's just the research I'm doing
I,
for my
and
dissertation. It's working with adults who grew up in 50-50 or spent more than 3 to 5 years in a 50-50 dual residency household,
uh,
and interviewing them basically on their perspective of its success or failure.
And with that, you're hoping to achieve what? To come out of it with more understanding of what the children felt during the process?
Whether
Or
it's a
in there, what?
successful Yes, whether it's a successful, it's still there's not a lot of research on 50-50. There's just not. Like I said, they've done some research. They talk to children who are in it, like 8, 12-year-olds. And then they talk to parents who are splitting time 50-50. But I'm really looking at it. I want to talk to those kids after they've already been in it. They did that for so many years, and really get their reflections on that.
Gotcha. I was reading a bit of your book before we came on. I forgot the name. Not Roe, not
Not
Mary.
Mary, not Roe.
Okay,
Mhm.
I should have left it up so I could remember what it was.
Not
But
Mary, not Roe. So it's about, there's really only two um unwed single moms, right? And everybody knows Mary, the Virgin Mary, and everybody knows Jane Doe, who was Roe v. Wade, and or Roe. And so it's a book about, it's written for all the people in the middle, like for everybody who isn't one of those two women, but falls in the middle somewhere and is just trying to figure out how to find their place on this earth, in a way that often goes against everything society teaches us.
Yeah, gotcha.